Joseph had been through a lot. His brothers sold him into slavery, he was wrongfully accused, thrown into prison, and forgotten for 2 years. He was in a strange place with strange people, far from everything he knew and loved. But he was right where he needed to be to save Egypt from a dreadful famine. Egypt wasn't the only place suffering the famine. Canaan was also experiencing the lack of crops. Joseph's family were struggling to survive, but they heard there was food in Egypt. So Jacob told his sons to go down there and buy some. And Joseph was the governor over the land, and he it was that sold to all the people of the land. And Joseph's brethren came and bowed down themselves before him with their faces to the earth. And Joseph saw his brethren, and he knew them, but made himself strange unto them, and spake roughly unto them. And he said unto them, Whence come ye? And they said, From the land of Canaan to buy food. And Joseph knew his brethren, but they knew not him. Joseph recognized his brothers right away, but they didn't recognize him. He was dressed strangely, he spoke confidently and commanding like a leader. And by this time, he knew how to speak Egyptian, how to speak the language, and he taught to his brothers through a translator. Joseph could have taken revenge right there and then. He had the power and authority. He could do whatever he wanted. But he remembered the dream that God had given him. All those years ago, God had planned to use this moment to help not just Egypt, but his family too. Joseph heard their story, how they came from Jacob, from Canaan, and had a little brother at home. Rather than reveal himself, God gave him wisdom to devise a test for them. He accused them of being spies and demanded that Simeon, the second oldest, remain in prison until they could bring back this little brother. Then Joseph commanded to fill their sacks with corn and to restore every man's money into his sack, and to give them provision for the way, and thus did he unto them. So Joseph let them go with some food, but he put their money back in the sacks of food. Joseph's brothers had sold him into slavery, had sold him for money. They lied to their father about it, and they had used the money for whatever purposes. Joseph was giving them a chance to prove they were honest. And the men took that present, and they took double money in their hand, and Benjamin, and rose up, and went down to Egypt, and stood before Joseph. So his brothers, they saw the money, they saw that it had found its way into their sack, they thought it was by mistake, but they were afraid they would be accused as thieves. So they brought that money back, and more. And he took and sent messes unto them from before him, but Benjamin's mess was 5 times so much as any of theirs, and they drank and were merry with him. Benjamin was clearly the favorite. Joseph saw how Jacob had kept him from Egypt to protect him. Jacob still favored one son over the others. Joseph decided to continue to make Benjamin the favorite. He gave him 5 times as much food as the other brothers. Now that he knew they were honest, what would they do about someone being favored more than them? While his brothers were eating, Joseph had his personal silver cup placed in Benjamin's sack. When they left, he waited some time and then had them chased after and accused of being thieves and then brought before him. And he said, Now also let it be according unto your words. He with whom it is found shall be my servant, and ye shall be blameless. Well, guess whose sack they found the silver cup in? It was Benjamin's, the favorite son, the one his brothers might be jealous of. When they were brought before Joseph, he gave them a simple choice. Benjamin held all the guilt. All of the accusation was on him. He would suffer the punishment. Joseph likely was not going to make Benjamin an actual slave. This was just to see how his brothers would respond. Now therefore, I pray thee, let thy servant abide instead of the lad a bondman to my lord, and let the lad go up with his brethren. Judah came forward, he stepped forward. He had to make promises to his father that he would not let Benjamin see harm. So he stepped forward and he offered himself in Benjamin's place. He did not want his father to be hurt again from the loss of another son. Judah was willing to give up himself so that Benjamin could go back to his father. And Joseph said unto his brethren, Come near to me, I pray you. And they came near, and he said, I am Joseph, your brother, whom ye sold into Egypt. Now therefore be not grieved, nor angry with yourselves that ye sold me hither, for God did send me before you to preserve life. Joseph revealed himself to his brothers, but he didn't blame them or get angry at the suffering that they had caused. He assured them that all of this worked according to God's plan. They may have done an evil act by selling him into slavery, but God is the one who shaped events. God is the one who used their bad actions to bring about a good result. Nothing they could do would have stopped God from sending Joseph somehow to Egypt to save them at this moment when they needed it. By God's plan, Jacob was able to see Joseph again, to live safely in Egypt with all his family. We can't control everything that happens around us, but we can control how we respond to it. We can decide whether to trust God and try to do the best we can in the situation, or we can try to work on our own strengths and our own wisdom. God knows the bigger picture. Following him is going to lead to the better result.